Tonight, I'll take you through some of the darkest, most haunting tales you've ever heard. Stories that leave you questioning the safety of your own surroundings. Lock your doors, dim the lights, and prepare yourself. Here are the top 3 true horror stories that will chill you to the core. The Midnight Visitor. A young couple, James and Lisa, had just moved into their new home on the outskirts of a small town. It was an old house built in the early 1900s, with creaky floors and dark, narrow hallways. One night, while James was away on a business trip, Lisa heard a soft tapping on the front door around midnight. She ignored it, brushing it off as her imagination. But then she heard it again, tap, 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 faint, but consistent. Gathering her courage, she peered through the peephole. There was no one there. Convinced it was nothing, Lisa went back to bed, but the tapping started again, louder this time, accompanied by faint whispers she couldn't quite make out. Terrified, she called James, but her phone lost service. The next morning, she noticed muddy footprints leading up to her door and away from her bedroom window. The police later informed her that a serial intruder had been spotted in the area. He was known for leaving traces at his favourite houses, watching people as they slept. Imagine knowing someone stood outside your door and your window, just watching you. The Lost Call. It was an ordinary Tuesday night for Ben, a 911 dispatcher working the graveyard shift. He'd been handling routine calls all night when just past midnight, he received a call from a panicked woman. She whispered that someone was in her house, slowly moving closer to her. Her voice was shaky, frantic. Ben immediately dispatched officers trying to keep her calm. Then there was silence on the line, followed by a single scream and a loud crash. When the police arrived, they found the house empty, completely abandoned, dust covering every surface as if no one had lived there in years. But Ben swore he heard that woman's fear, her whispering voice. He later learned that 20 years prior, a woman in that very house had called 911, claiming she was being followed, only for her call to end abruptly, like the one he'd received. They never found out what happened to her either. Sometimes, echoes from the past are stronger than we can comprehend. The Shadow in the Woods. Our final story comes from a group of friends who decided to go camping in the dense woods of northern Minnesota. They were seasoned campers, ready for adventure, but none of them were prepared for what they encountered that night. Around 2 a.m., one of the friends, Mia, stepped out of the tent to use the restroom and noticed a strange, dark figure standing just outside their campsite. It looked human, but not quite. It was unnaturally tall, with elongated limbs and glowing eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. Frozen in fear, Mia stared as the figure slowly lifted a long, bony finger to its lips, signaling for her to be silent. Terrified, she rushed back to the tent and whispered to the others, but by the time they looked, it was gone. The next morning, they found enormous footprints around their campsite, trailing off into the deep woods. Locals later told them of an old legend about the Watcher, a figure said to roam those woods, watching from the shadows and waiting for those who wandered too far. Sometimes the forest hides secrets we're better off never uncovering. These are just 3 stories, but there are countless others, hidden in the shadows of our everyday lives. They remind us that we're never as alone as we think. So next time you hear a strange noise in the night, or feel like someone's watching you from the darkness, maybe, just maybe, they are. Thanks for watching. If you're brave enough, subscribe for more tales that'll keep you up at night.